Liz Cheney, Oath and Honor, a Memoir and a Warning. Enter the intricate world of political dynamics as Liz Cheney presents Oath and Honor, a Memoir and a Warning, a memoir that delivers a first-hand account of the tumultuous events surrounding the 2020 U.S. presidential election. Dive into the critical examination of unprecedented attempts to undermine democracy and the alarming rise of political disinformation. Through Cheney's narrative, readers are exposed to behind-the-scenes conversations, contentious legal battles, and the harrowing events of January 6. The memoir underscores the fragility of democratic institutions when tested by despotic ambitions, and Cheney warns of the potential consequences of unchecked power. Readers will find themselves engrossed in a gripping tale of political resilience, ethical fortitude, and the urgent need to safeguard democratic principles for future generations.
Election Aftermath Analysis. In the turbulent days following the 2020 U.S. election, a shift in Republican leadership stance became evident despite Trump's refusal to admit defeat. Initial private conversations acknowledged Biden's likely path to victory, yet public declarations, like those from House Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy, contradicted this, falsely claiming Trump's triumph. This marked the beginning of efforts to undermine the election's outcome. Mark Levin, a staunch Trump supporter, publicly urged state legislatures to overlook election board decisions and act upon their constitutional authority, despite no evidence of voting irregularities. Trump, relentless in his pursuit to overturn the results, embarked on a spree of unsuccessful lawsuits and direct interventions, including pressuring local election officials to alter vote counts. With Biden's confirmed win, Trump leaned further into debunked conspiracy theories regarding voting technology, rallying his supporters to protest a so-called fraudulent election. This call to action magnified tensions, leading to the dramatic events of January 6, when Congress convened to certify Biden's victory. The fallout from these events has left a lasting impact on American society, echoing in political discourse and public sentiment to this day. Election overturn efforts. Faced with failed legal strategies, Trump pinpointed January 6 as his last chance to contest the election results. He leveraged Twitter to rally supporters for the Stop the Steal event in Washington, D.C., complemented by campaign emails offering complimentary transport and lodging to boost attendance. On December 9, at Trump's behest, Representative Mike Johnson reached out to House Republicans, urging their backing of an amicus brief for Texas's lawsuit challenging Biden's victories in key swing states. Despite the contentious nature of the case and skepticism from some conservative lawyers, Trump was eager to discern who aligned with this legal maneuver as the Supreme Court dismissed it unanimously on December 11 due to its lack of standing. Undeterred, Trump continued to assert victory through tweets and speeches, inciting fervor in online forums that speculated about fraudulent voter activity. Groups like the Proud Boys and Oath Keepers began openly discussing armed resistance if Trump's claim to victory was not acknowledged. With the judiciary standing firm, Trump shifted his focus to Republican officials in states like Georgia, Arizona, Michigan, and Pennsylvania, urging them to manipulate vote counts or appoint loyalist electors, although responses varied. Additionally, Trump sought to sway congressional Republicans to contest the Electoral College certification on January 6, placing particular pressure on Vice President Mike Pence. Trump inaccurately claimed Pence possessed the authority to reject electors favoring Biden, a power Pence clarified was not granted by the Constitution. The Last Gambit. With no legal avenues left, Trump focused his final efforts on January 6 in an attempt to retain power. On January 4, during a campaign call, advisor Jenna Ellis falsely claimed that 7 states had competing sets of Electoral College electors who pledged their loyalty to Trump. In reality, these supposed electors were entirely fabricated. Ellis proposed a radical idea: Vice President Pence could refuse to count the votes from these states based on anticipated Republican objections in Congress. These actions, intended to overturn valid election results, lacked any evidence of fraud, as admitted by Trump spokesman Jason Miller. The plan, if successful, would lead to a constitutional crisis and potential unrest. Nevertheless, Trump's team continued to push forward. By January 5, House Republicans convened to deliberate over contesting the electoral votes. Some, like Mike Gallagher, recognized the danger in questioning legitimate elector slates, equating it to descending a hazardous path fueled by baseless fraud claims. Despite this, a faction demanded investigations into non-existent election discrepancies. Online platforms fueled Trump supporters with false narratives about manipulated voting and encouraged armed marches on the Capitol. Trump persisted, contacting state and local officials to unearth non-existent votes and urged Congress to reject votes for Biden. He incited fervor among his followers, predicting wild protests on January 6, prompting the erection of security fences around the Capitol. The stage was thus set as Trump prepared to pay any price to hold on to the presidency. The Capitol siege. As tensions escalated before January 6, Donald Trump persistently spread false claims of election fraud, urging his supporters to fight for their country. He called for a massive rally in Washington on the day Congress was set to certify election results, promising attendees a "wild" event. The Save America rally began in Ellipse Park, drawing a large crowd who were fired up by speakers like Donald Trump Jr., Rudy Giuliani, and Mo Brooks, all peddling the narrative of a stolen election and rallying for action. Donald Trump Jr. proclaimed the gathering to be Donald Trump's party, while Giuliani demanded a trial by combat to decide the election. By noon, Trump took the stage, arguing for over an hour that he'd won by a landslide, repeating claims of a rigged and stolen election. He asserted that reclaiming the country required strength, urging his followers to march to the Capitol to have their voices heard, assuring them he'd join in. Around 2 p.m., as the demonstration swelled toward the Capitol, supporters breached security perimeters and entered the building by force. Capitol officers, outnumbered, struggled to hold them back while lawmakers either evacuated or sheltered in place. Rioters roamed the halls, vandalizing and searching for officials like Vice President Pence. Meanwhile, Trump watched the chaos unfold on television from the White House, ignoring aides' pleas to condemn the violence or mobilize forces to restore order. Instead, he tweeted criticism of Pence, who an hour earlier, had led the Senate in certifying the vote. As Congress debated challenges to the vote count, the pro-Trump mob overran the building. Security hurried key figures like Nancy Pelosi and Steny Hoyer to safety before the House session recessed due to the hostile takeover. It wasn't until after 4 p.m. that Trump issued a video urging the rioters to leave, yet he continued to insist that the election had been stolen. Gradually, law enforcement managed to regain command of the Capitol, paving the way for Congress to reconvene that night, ultimately certifying Joe Biden's victory. Beyond the insurrection. In the chaotic aftermath of an attack on the Capitol, the symbol of American democracy stood in ruins. Debris lay scattered, with shattered windows and destroyed offices serving as stark reminders of a historic breach. Graffiti covered the walls, and among the wreckage, police discovered explosives and Molotov cocktails brought in by the rioters. The assault left over 140 officers injured, some with severe wounds, and tragically, Capitol Police Officer Brian Sicknick lost his life after defending the building. Amid this turmoil, Congress gathered strength, working tirelessly through the night to certify President Biden's victory. Yet, as law enforcement and investigators sought to understand the full extent of the horror and establish blame, former President Trump remained defiant, refusing to denounce the attackers and instead celebrating them. This response fueled even more divisions, prompting key resignations within the Republican ranks and losing corporate backing for those lawmakers who resisted the truth. In the shadow of this violence, January 20 marked a pivotal moment as Biden took office on the very steps tarnished by the insurrection, now fortified by a staggering 25,000 troops. His inaugural speech called for unity, encouraging a shared reliance on truth over division. As Biden's administration began its work, renewing commitments like the Paris Climate Accord, there remained a determination to pursue justice. Many demanded accountability for those involved in the Capitol attack and its orchestration. With steadfast determination, Speaker Pelosi appointed Liz Cheney to a House Select Committee to uncover the truth of that fateful day. Cheney embraced the role despite facing severe criticism from her party, driven by a commitment to uncover the facts and defend the integrity of American democracy. Unmasking the Capitol siege. In the aftermath of the Capitol insurrection, accountability was sought through multiple in-depth investigations. A Senate report exposed significant security lapses, highlighting law enforcement's lack of preparation against the overwhelming mob. Meanwhile, the FBI charged numerous rioters, and prosecutors convicted far-right group members like the Oath Keepers of seditious conspiracy. Public hearings by the House Select Committee brought to light the extensive maneuvers to subvert the democratic process on January 6, revealing testimonies and evidence showcased a startling picture. Allies of Trump orchestrated "Stop the Steal" rallies, exerted pressure on officials to alter the election results, and plotted to undermine the validity of state electors. Insiders recounted how, as the chaos unfolded at the Capitol, Trump watched passively on television, declining to intervene. His persistent efforts to claim unearned victory, even suggesting martial law, painted a portrait of relentless determination to cling to power against the democratic will. The committee's findings underscored the seriousness of the conspiracy to impede a lawful election, punctuating the enduring threat posed by unfounded election fraud claims and political violence incited through incendiary rhetoric. Trump's speeches and actions illustrated a willingness to employ extreme measures, which were not mere bluster but genuine intentions to disrupt democratic norms. This examination unearths a chilling prospect of the future. If given another term, Trump could further erode the democratic fabric, defy constitutional safeguards, and dismantle the republic's foundational structures with the assistance of compliant advisors. The events of January 6 stand as a stark reminder. Dismissing his rhetoric and ambitions could set the stage for history to repeat itself, possibly in even more ominous circumstances. Thus, vigilance is necessary to safeguard against the erosion of democracy and ensure that the lessons learned from this dark episode are not cast aside.
In Oath and Honor, Liz Cheney compels readers to confront unsettling truths about the fragility of democracy in the face of authoritarian threats. Through her first-hand account, she reveals the wide-reaching conspiracy to subvert electoral integrity and the grave risks posed by political misinformation. The memoir serves as a cautionary tale, urging vigilance against the erosion of constitutional safeguards and the unchecked ambitions of powerful figures. Cheney's narrative culminates in an earnest appeal for accountability and transparency to prevent history from repeating itself. This work is not only a historical recount but also a crucial reminder of the ongoing fight to preserve the democratic foundation of the United States. For those invested in the preservation of democratic norms, Cheney's insights offer both a stern warning and a call to action.